It's been almost 2 years in the making, and finally, Saturday, April 27th, you can be a part of the official Shafer Bell Tower dedication. Today, workers put the finishing touches on for next weekend. The ceremony starts at 11.
Shafer Tower is a staple in the Ball State community for Cardinal students and alumni who come to Ball State's campus to reminisce on their joyous and memorable times. What if the bell tower never had existed? Let's see the impact Shafer Tower has had on Ball State's campus and community.
Good to see you again. How are you? Good to see you.
Well, I think he's going to listen in while I get a couple of comments here about the tower that's named after you. Obviously, this is just going to be an extremely gratifying day for you and your wife.
It's a very, very gratifying day, and certainly the Carillon was beautiful. Kirby did a super job, I think.
I know this has been a long time coming too. Obviously, for years and years and years, this was discussed, and then the tower started going up. There were some problems last winter, and to see this day finally happen, it's going to be just extraordinarily exciting.
Very exciting. It's very exciting. We're glad to be here.
It's very humbling.
What do you think about the turnout? Obviously, this has gotten the feel of the campus, I guess, because a lot of people coming from all over the campus to hear and see this.
Yes. I didn't think anybody would be here but us.
I hope everyone who asked when they could hear the bells were here.
A lot of people were asking when they'd be playing.
And we have you to thank for the selection, I guess, right?
Well, we had a choice on a sheet of paper, and we just marked the ones that...
And then Phyllis wrote White Christmas down at the bottom of the page, which Kirby played.
It was lovely. It was very nice.
But it's a marvelous day.
The weather's perfect.
Your hand is shaking.
That's right.
I'm Tim Underhill, Senior Lecturer of Media at Ball State University. Well, as a student and when I started working at Ball State, I've been here longer than the tower. So that's part of it. I was here before that tower existed. And then I got to watch it be built and grow. I was actually a part of the media coverage from University Relations when they first announced that they wanted to build a tower, when the fundraising was being accomplished, when got to meet Hamer and Phyllis Shafer, who it's named after, and a lot of the other alums who wanted to build a tower. Got to meet those people early on in the process, and then they started constructing the tower. And in my role at University Relations, I was capturing images while the tower was being built. So I guess the tower and I go way back. Currently, though, my office has a great view of the tower. So every day I look out on the tower. I watch over the tower. I kind of see it every day. And also because I do photos and video, I have a lot of images of the tower. I have time lapses of the sunrises and snowfall and rain. And I just capture a lot of images because it's convenient out my window. And so I'm somewhat fond of the tower.
My name is Linda Branham. I'm retired, but I was a medical technologist. I lived on Warwick Road, right behind the tower, for 50 years. And I was a student at Ball State first, and lived right behind the tower and watched it being built and listened to it every day.
You mentioned that you and your family helped out with the donation.
We did, and I believe this was built with community money. not Ball State. And lots of folks in the community wanted to contribute. So they had levels of giving, and you could have a bell named after your family. So we did that because we love music and we love Ball State, and we wanted to be part of the Carillon Bells. So we did that. We have C, sharp, and B for our family.
How did that make you feel, knowing that not only you get to see your donation at work, but also be able to hear it every day?
I think that was extra special. A lot of times you give to organizations or community efforts, and you don't hear it every single day, or see the joy that people have by hearing it. We would go outside when we knew there was a concert and sit in the backyard and listen to it, and it's just good to have on campus. I love the dedication. We were able to go stand by the bell tower and listen to the concert when they dedicated it to the Shafers. I don't know, just different times during my life there, it would play and just bring joy. So I guess that's the main memory, hearing it every 15 minutes, because I could hear it inside the house as well.
James Lowe. I am the Associate Vice President for Facilities Planning and Management at Ball State University. Been here since 1987. So significance and most proud of. So our department is responsible for basically the growth that you've seen around campus for the last, 35 years I've been here. We're also responsible for the campus master plan, which has evolved since 1922. Most recently, we updated in 2021, and in 2015, it was robustly updated. But this bell tower was in the campus master plan as far back as 1980 when we updated the campus master plan. And it was just a vision of what could be on campus. Had no funding source. We envisioned a location, which is where we're at today. We had no pathway forward for the funding, which I'll get to a little bit later. But we were able to acquire the funding, hired a design firm, and our department, as well as others on campus, helped manage the design and the building of this structure. So it serves as an icon for an icon on campus. And so for our department, we're proud of every structure we built. But I think as far as icons on campus and structures on campus, it probably is the most prominent. We have buildings that people recognize. We're building out, of course, in different areas of campus, both residence halls and academic buildings. So there'll be people who come, students will come and go and tell you about a certain structure in a residence hall they lived in. But I think if you ask most students who have been on campus, who have graduated, they will likely tell you the point that stands out, no pun intended with the point, is the bell tower. And it happens to, again, be a prominent location on campus, happens to be the highest point on campus as well. Well, I wasn't at the table on the date that they decided to move forward, but it has since the 70s and 80s been part of our campus master plan. And if you go to other institutions of higher ed, Purdue, IU, other locations, they have bell towers. My school, where I graduated with, a small school in Flint, Michigan, Kettering University, had a bell tower when I got there in 1973. So I think bell towers are prominent at most institutions of higher ed. Ball State did not have one. We're an institution of higher ed that did not have one, so we planned forward to put that in place.
One of the most impressive things was when I saw the bells as they were delivered and sitting on the pallets on the ground. The enormity, these huge brass bells that were cast just for Ball State, and just to see how big they are. You don't notice the size while you're looking at the ground and looking up at the tower, but you really do when you get to stand right next to them and see how big they are and how many of them there are. It wasn't just 2 or 3 bells. There's a lot of them up there. And so it's kind of neat to see that, and how once you saw the bells, it kind of, okay, this really is happening. You know, yeah, there's a tower, it's being built, but until you see, this is really neat, and it hopefully will become appreciated by a lot of people back then, and I think it has.
I'm Robert Willey. I'm an associate professor of music in the music media production program at Ball State University. And I play piano at St. Andrew's Church on Sunday mornings and Vera May's restaurant on Saturday nights. There's a controller, it's a keyboard with wooden levers. It's laid out like a piano keyboard, but each key is about this long. It's like a yardstick, and you push them down with your fists. You can play it with your hands. I've seen John kind of do tremolos where he plays a trill between two instruments or a arpeggio. But it's basically played one note at a time with the two fists and also with the feet. So an organ player has an advantage there because they're used to playing with both their hands and feet. But each time you push down a lever, there's a wire that pulls the clapper on the bell that's connected to it and hits the bell. And there's some amount of regulation as the wires shrink and adjust to the humidity and temperature. John, I've seen him adjust the tension on at some point between the lever and the clapper so that there's a consistent depth that you have to go down before you hit it and a consistent force. The bigger bells, it takes more energy to push it down and hit it. So it can play from soft to loud if you know what you're doing. But it takes practice. It's not just like you sit there with a keyboard. People may not even I don't know how many people have ever heard music coming out of it. They play it on like Parents' Day or graduation, but if you didn't have to be on campus that day, you probably didn't hear it. It's just it's chiming on the quarter hour, but people don't really think of it as an instrument. It's not till you get up there and you see that there's a keyboard and you can play tunes, you can play chords. It can really it's a musical instrument. It's not just an alarm clock.
The tower's being constructed and they put the bricks on the outside. It was held in place by mortar, and there was a problem with the mortar. It was either mixed incorrectly or it was faulty mortar, and so they had to take all the bricks off the exterior and replace them all with the correct mortar. And so that delayed the completion of the tower by a little bit, but it got to be somewhat of a source of jokes around campus because it was so nice that they built it twice.
We remember when it was started and we were watching it be built, and then they had to tear it down. I can't remember how tall it was. It was pretty well on its way when they tore it down because the building materials they decided weren't structurally sound. So they took it down to the base and started over again. I think there was a lot of joking about it on campus. The kids wondered why we needed a bell tower until it was built, and they saw how special it was.
My understanding that after they built it, there was something wrong with the cement and they had to take it down and rebuild it. I think it sounds nice. It helps us stay on track. When the clock is synchronized, it's supposed to adjust automatically to the time. I think it's a missed opportunity that it's not being used for music. The chimes just chime, it sounds like a clock hitting the bells, and it's a very expressive instrument. You can play from very soft to very loud if you know what you're doing. And there's interesting repertoire for it. It's not just, simple Baroque pieces or something. There's modern music written for it. This John Gouins is really an excellent artist, and he lives a couple hours away, but he could be hired to come down more frequently. The professor who taught organ before had retired, and he knew how to play the carillon and had done both for a while. And he had some students who were interested in learning the instrument. The person who replaced him was an international concert artist on organ and was all over the world giving organ recitals and had no interest in playing carillon. He said none of his students would be interested in that they were all preparing for good paying organist jobs in churches. And so there was nobody there who was interested in the carillon. I come from a computer music background, and I learned that the carillon is computer controllable from the organ studio. You can play a MIDI keyboard and play the carillon. And so I was interested in using it for technology applications. And so I did that for a little while. I had some students in the computer science program for their capstone program wrote a carillon jukebox app, and you would be able to, after 5 o'clock, there was a list of songs that you could queue up, and you'd pay $1 and you could play the carillon in the evening. And the cheerleaders had single-use codes. If there was an important moment in the basketball game, they could hit the fight song. And the the whole carillon was going to act like wind chimes in the weekend. So it would look at the national weather data and pull out the wind speed. And at certain times during the weekend, it would play the chimes randomly. The activity amount would be based on how windy it was. And the money that went from using the app was going to go to hiring John Gouins to come down from Culver Academies and give concerts. He used to come down, it's my understanding, and play in the evening. There'd be a video camera up above on the deck, and you could sit on the lawn and see a video of the guy up in the tower playing. Anyway, as we finished the app and we're ready to announce it, I started going up the hierarchy, and it didn't get very far, and the verdict was that it's just not Ball State to have the carillon playing random songs like a jukebox. So I continue to just play it for fun once in a while, and I go up there on September 11th and toll the bells on September 11th and on.
We remember when it was started, and we were watching it be built, and then they had to tear it down. And I can't remember how tall it was. It was pretty well on its way when they tore it down, because the building materials they decided weren't structurally sound. So they took it down to the base and started over again. I think there was a lot of joking about it on campus. The kids wondered why we needed a bell tower until it was built, and they saw how special it was. And I was talking to my son, and he remembered how they rerouted the traffic on McKinley, because it was just a street, and they made it beautiful. And the reason they put the bell tower there, and then the rest of the street accented the bell tower.
The campus has grown over the last, let's say, even the last 60, 70 years, with the growth, the increase in population on campus since the 50s and the 60s. But the campus essentially was located, let's just say, east of McKinley Avenue. So where the Dave Letterman building sits and the AJ building sits was actually homes, and back as far back as, or as recent, I should say, as the early 80s. So back to your question, I think it starts to tie the campus together that has grown both east and west, and north and south for that matter, up a major corridor that has been renovated in the last 15 years. So I think it ties it all together with a structure that signifies you're here, you're at Ball State University.
Initially, a lot of people, faculty and alums, were concerned that the university was spending money in an area where it could have been better spent someplace else. You know, why are you spending money on a tower when we could go towards scholarships? And that was a big issue at the time. And the truth is that the money came from private donors who wanted to build a tower, and that's what they wanted to do.
I think for those students who have been here, your student population today, those who are coming in the future, the pride point is this, and the takeaway, in my opinion, it was by virtue of alumni, graduates of Ball State University from the College of Business that we are able to stand in this structure today. Phillips and Hammer Shafer, who were graduates of the College of Business, who provided the funding for this structure, and they paid it forward for you and for all students coming, and for that matter, for the Muncie community and for all of us that are standing here today. So the takeaway is you continue to give back, and that is great, because you give back to the future of the next quantity of students that are coming through Ball State University. You ought to take pride in that. Yeah. And you continue to do that. Our alumni are fabulous.
She was right off the bat, people think, well, my goodness, what does that do? What does that tower do to help us in our mission to educate? And so there was some concern initially. I think that 20 years, that has really changed.
So probably not entirely going to answer your question, but I will tell you this. The gentleman that was the vice president for business affairs at the time happens to be Tom Kinghorn. We have a residence hall named after Tom Kinghorn. He was the one that had the vision for this project. Without his vision, this wouldn't be here today. He had that vision. He was so attuned to the project, no pun intended with the attune, he followed the construction of the bells He wanted to know how it worked, how they cast them, where they were made overseas. I think he may even travel to that location just to understand how they get the pill in the bell, that's the sound and so forth. But I know there's quite a process. And there's only a couple of locations around the world that make these types of bells. And I think this was France, if I'm correct. But he followed it to that detail just to make sure they were accurately cast and they had the right pill in them. And there were 48 in total above us. One, I think the smallest weighs about 50 pounds and the biggest weighs about 5,000 pounds. Yeah, to get the octaves that you're looking for. Absolutely not. So it will not be overshadowed by the new stuff. It is in addition to those structures that you already have available at Ball State University. It will still remain the prominent location on campus. I can see the bell tower continuing to be the best place for the photo op. I mean, it is in the heart of campus. You're right here with all the other structures. It's a beautiful structure. So I can see it'll remain to be the prominent location on campus. Though it's very attractive to be over by the Alderdice Archway too. So I think it'll be both. I'd take 2 shots. I'd take one here and one at the Archway. I'm going to take you back to beneficence, and you've heard this before and you've seen it in a lot of different publications. It's all about our gratitude and our giving back and so forth. And back to this, the answer to one of your questions earlier, the giving back by the Shafer family for donating the money for this particular project. It's that giving back that continues to, I think, propel Ball State University outside of Muncie, Indiana. I think there are those who just continue to see what great things are happening here, what great education you guys are getting here with our wonderful faculty and staff that are here at Ball State University. But I think the demonstration is the fact that we have alumni that continues to want to give back to an institution that gave to them.
I never thought of it that way, but I think that's true. When I came here, the duck pond had dormitories right next to it, and I lived there. And then the center of campus was really Pittenger Student Center and the Arts Terrace. And now that we have all the other buildings along McKinley and the other opportunities for classroom work that we didn't have, the architecture building wasn't there, the Bracken Library, there was nothing there along McKinley. So now that is really the center of campus. And I agree that the bell tower there, the center of campus, it brings all the parts together.
So I think they do take pride in the tower. And the reason I stated they do take pride is this happens to be the point of congregating when there's events on campus or in a world or wherever that take place, where groups of students want to gather and meet. Maybe it's a memorial or it's a vigil or whatever it might be. It tends to be this location at the base of the tower. So this happens to be that meeting point. No other point on campus can I think of that serves the same purpose. Now, that may change over time, but today it's the bell tower. So I think students resonate with this point on campus for many different reasons. I have never heard that myth. That is a new myth to me. It's almost like walking under a ladder, I guess. But I have not heard that, so I'm not sure I can respond to it. But I will guarantee you it's perfectly safe. Now, in many ways, different ways, I'd say crossing underneath it is good luck. So let's start a new myth. And then crossing under the bell tower is good luck. It's just like kissing the frog baby. So you cross under the tower, go over and kiss frog baby, and I guarantee you graduate in 4 years.
You can describe the impact of the bell tower, the change of campus over your lifetime in one word. What will it be?
Remarkable. You know, Shafer Tower, at least for Ball State, has become a symbol. It's become a gathering point. It's become a tradition for the university. And not just the physical tower itself, but also the chimes. When you hear the chimes ring, you know where you are. You know what time it is. You know where, you know, how close you are to the tower. And it just kind of brings the whole university together when you know you're close enough to hear the bells chime. It's kind of neat.
I'm going to use your same word, impactful.
It's a landmark. You know, when you see drone pictures of Ball State, usually it's around somewhere with the Carillon. It's a beautiful tower.